Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Victoria Ayadele. If it's your first time on my channel, thank you so much for joining me. If you're a returning subscriber, you know I love you already. Thank you for always coming back. Okay, so guys, today I was able to manage to drag this man again for the second time in a row to do a video with me today. So today I have my husband with me. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello guys, as usual, the name is Wole Ayadele Fash, and it's a pleasure to be back here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Okay, thank you for honoring our invitation.
Invitation, yes.
What do you mean?
Invitation.
Invitation. It was not coercion, it was invitation.
Yes. Emphasis on it was not coercion.
It was not coercion. Anyway guys, so in our last video I mentioned that we'll be doing a video with discussing questions to discuss with your partner before you take that step into forever. Questions to talk to your partner or to discuss with your husband to be, your wife to be, before you guys say I do to each other. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about in this video. So if this is something that you're going to find interesting, please make sure you keep on watching. Okay, all right, so the first question, so we're just going to jump right into it. It's like we don't have time. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be starting. Ladies first, is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay, so now the first question that I believe that you need to ask your partner before you guys take that step is, first of all, like, what is your future goals? What is your future plan? Now don't come for me. Now I know that there's been this trend going on around that, oh, in our first date is asking me my 5 years plan. Now, I'm not saying that in your first date. I'm saying that when you guys have been friends, and I always advise you that before you even get into a relationship with a person, or even start talking about marriage, or even start dating, you guys should try to be friends first. Get to know the person on a friendship level for you to be able to even know without the whole lovey things involved, you get the kind of person this person is. Okay, so that's aside. When you guys have been friends, you've gotten to that level where you think that this might be someone that I would be able to spend the rest of my life with, then you want to start asking the important questions. Okay, and one of the most important question is, what is your future plan? What is your goals? Okay, and I believe that this is important for you to be able to know, okay, my plan or my goal for my future, your goal for your future, does it align? And I know I've said this before in our video. You need to know, for instance, if I'm a person that I believe in, I'm a career woman, I want to go around the world, I want to travel around the world, I want to have a business, I want to build a successful career for myself, and my husband is the kind of person who believes that his wife should be someone that stays at home and takes care of the home, takes care of the children. There's nothing bad in that. I mean, there are people who are full housewives, okay, but we might not just be the best kind of partner for each other. There are women who actually want to be a full housewife, like that's what they enjoy doing. But for someone who does not want to, someone who wants to build a career for themselves,
a man who wants to be full-time house husband.
Well, yeah. Full-time house husband. Okay, anyway, I've not seen, okay, well, I'm sure there are men like that. Okay, I don't know, but there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, that's what I'm just saying. If that's the path you have chosen for yourself, you just need to find the partner that is willing to accommodate that plan that you have for your future. Okay, and another instance is, maybe my future plan or my husband's future plan might be to travel around the world or to settle down in the United States and stuff, and my own plan is probably to be the president of Nigeria. You get? So where does that align? Like, our goals, our future does not align. So you need to know, what is your future plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you have what's your future aspiration? What kind of career do you want to go into? And stuff like that. Basically, if our future goals and our purpose and everything, if it's going to align, and if we'll be able to play the role that will be needed in each other's future plan. Okay, so I think that is very, very important that you discuss that. So what do you think?
I think in agreement with all that she has said, I think it's also important that we provide this perspective that it's like a fact-finding mission. The whole essence of this is discovering how you fit into the person's life, and how the person's fit into your lives, and into your own life, and what adjustments where needed would need to be for the relationship to move forward. Okay, yeah, I think yeah, because of course there'll be times that you need to adjust to be able to fit into something. For instance, if in the next 2 years I want to do my masters, okay, that might not be like a huge priority on my list. Okay, if my husband wants to say, okay, let's get married first, okay, can I get married and still be able to do that? It means that if I get married, we may want to delay children for me to be able to achieve that. You get? So just trying to get to a middle ground, okay, and of course there'll
be times that, you know, this is my plan, this is your plan, we are going to different expressways, okay? So yeah, you just need to know, this is my future plan, this is where I see myself in my future. And I think that's something that we actually discussed in when we're even friending, and when it looked like, okay, this is going to become something like a fruitful, this is going to be like a full-blown relationship thing. Those are one of the things that we discussed in our very first phone conversation. Actually, it was just trying to know me, to know my thinking, how I see myself. And you know me, if you ask me one question, I will tell you the whole thing. I ended up talking so long, you know, and he got to know so much about me, and he concluded that I'm a very ambitious person, and that was absolutely accurate. Okay, so yeah, that's something that we discussed. Yeah, and I know my husband also mentioned that, you know, at a point I asked him what was his 5 years plan. The only problem was the way I came about it. You know, we're talking about something completely different, and all of a sudden I just brought it up. So you also want to make sure that you're looking at the setting, at the time, and that the method that, you know, be able to get the best response from your partner. So yeah, that's very, very important. So what do you think is the next thing?
A lot of important questions you need to ask. Yes, we may not even be able to cover all the questions, but one of the important questions, I think, is first of all, you want to know if your partner is the type that wants a child. How many children do they want? How frequently do they want children? I mean, these are factors that you may want to ask. At least from the male standpoint, you don't go through the pregnancy as a person. Your body doesn't go through the changes. So it might be hard to impose what you want on your partner without taking consideration of your partner's experience. So you may want to find out all those stuff. Now, why this is quite important is because you don't want to be with someone who doesn't share similar views with something as important as children.
Yeah.
So the number of children you want to have is, are you, like, for instance, I know it's a common thing in Africa with a male child and all that. So you may want to ask, as a lady, is your partner the type that thinks that he must have a male child? If not, he doesn't have children. Like, no, regardless of the number of children he has, as long as, you know, you want to understand, I mean, go through all those questions so that you know what you're settling in for. Do you want children? How many children do you want? What's the frequency of the children? It's important.
Yeah, I think that's very important. There was one other thing when it comes to also discussing about, you know, your children, future children. I think one important factor to also discuss is, you know, there are certain things that are unpredictable in life. I mean, a lot of couples get married and they've planned, oh, this is the amount of children we want to have, this is the year we want to start having it. And I think that's also one important question, like, how often do you want to also start having children? You know, how soon do you want to start having children? A person might, the woman, for instance, might want to wait, you know, maybe she wants to build a career to a certain extent before children comes in. The man might not want children immediately, but you need to have that conversation, like, how soon do we want children? And when the pressure start coming in also, you know, you'll be able to know, okay, we are in a united front, this is what we want, so that when pressure start coming in, you know that, oh, you know what, as far as we are one, you get, every other thing is irrelevant. And I think one other thing that you also need to discuss regarding, you know, having children, not having children, is what happens if, you know, children does not come as often or as quickly as you want. Okay, now I know that this is a topic that will be like, oh, God forbid, don't use your mouth to call what is bad and stuff like that, but we know that this is a reality. This is something that happens, like, in a lot of marriages. You don't plan it. There are people who they've gone to the hospital and they've told them nothing is wrong with you, nothing is wrong with your husband, but for some reason children are not coming. So you want to also have that conversation. I know we had that conversation, like, even multiple times before we even got married. Like, what happens if kids don't come? Are you a person that believe in adoption? Are you a person that believe in IVF? You get, because there are some people who don't believe that IVF is godly. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have you guys discuss those things, you know. And I know it wasn't even something that we discussed. I remember I watched a video of a woman and I spoke, and, you know, it just spurred that conversation between the two of us, and I got to know his thinking about that. So is he a person that if you are not giving children, we might want to try surrogates? Does he believe in surrogacy? Okay, is he for someone that wants to go and get a second wife to be able to have children? Like, what happens if children don't come as quickly as you want it, or if, you know, God forbid, you know, it doesn't come? Like, what do we do? What will be our next step? This is something that we don't want to discuss, something that we rebuke, we don't even want to think about. But I think, and I still believe, that it's a very, very important question to ask your partner when it comes to, you know, children, because you don't control things, you don't have power over things, you get. So yeah, I think that's quite important. And the next point that I will talk about, which is actually closely related to what he said, is about your parenting style. You need to have a conversation about, you know, what do you believe about parenting? Okay, you know, your husband might be a person who believes that, you know, you should, when you start giving birth, you should leave everything and be the only one to, you know, you should be involved in our children's upbringing and stuff like that. No nannies, no cleaning lady, no nobody, you get there. In short, I think some YouTubers actually did a video about that, about a man who does not want anybody, you know, in their house, no cleaner, no anything, you get. I want my wife to be the one to be 100% involved and no outsider in our marriage. You want your children to be homeschooled and stuff like that. You know, I know some of you might say, oh, this is 21st century, it's weird, nobody wants that. You'll be amazed that that's what some women want. Some women don't want anybody involved in bringing up their children. So it's not even about men. That's what some women want, and some men also don't want that. So you need to make sure that, you know, you are in a common ground. If I'm a person that I'm very ambitious, okay, I would definitely need help in raising my children. I'll definitely need help in the household, and, you know, just someone to assist me with my kids.
Anyone who has a career knows that they need some help.
You need help. So you need to make sure that you have that conversation. So it's very, very important that you guys come to a common ground. Like, what is our parenting style going to be like? Am I going to be the good cop, bad cop? Like, or are we going to have a united front when it comes to, you know, raising our children? You just need to have that conversation. Like, I know growing up, I mean, it was a different dynamics between my mom and dad. They had different way or idea about raising children, you get. So you just need to know, do I want to be 100% involved in my child's life? Do I receive help? What is your own understanding about, you know, parenting? What's your parenting style? What do you prefer? Okay, so that's one thing I think is very important. What do you think, babe?
I think in addition to all those things she said, one other important thing is you ask your partner his or her experience when he or she was growing up. So I could ask my partner how she felt as a child. Does she approve of the style used on her? What are the noticeable or perceivable improvements to be made from our observation? We could compare script, and it might help us be better at parenting. In my experience, a lot about us is a function of some of these things. So sometimes in the course of discussing that, you even discover more the reasons why your partner is wired in a certain way.
Okay. All right. And I also think one important thing to discuss is also your when it comes to parenting style, also it's like your punishment style. Like, yeah, I know that's something that we both also discussed. Like, and to be honest, we did not really come to that, okay, this is how we are going to punish our kids, or this is how we are going to correct our kids. Not punish. I don't like using the word punish, even though someone disagrees.
Punishment is punishment.
Right?
There's a penalty for doing a wrong thing. It's punishment.
Yeah, I think just correction is better than saying I'm punishing you. Like, I'm trying to correct an attitude or a character.
I think punishment is a type of correction.
Yeah, this is the argument we have when it comes to disciplining our kids.
There are times when you correct.
Yeah.
There are times.
Correction, punishment is also. I mean, the aim of punishment is correction.
Okay, but for avoidance of time, we can leave.
Yeah, we can have a conversation on that another time, because trust me, guys, this is an argument we have back to back because it's like we are generations apart, different when it comes to the ideology of raising kids. But not really, because I mean, there are, in so many ways we agree on how we want to raise our kids, but there are certain things that we just don't agree we don't agree on. I remember there was a time we were discussing and I said punishment was torturing.
Yeah, I mean, I could not understand.
I did not hear.
Torture.
But I think it's a function of what you said. You know, sometimes our upbringing kind of, you know, scars us, you get, that we see those things as something that I would never do to my children, you get. So just getting to a middle ground to know that, okay, these are things that, you know, we would do. Okay, so at a point where I feel like, you know, you should be more conversational with your kids, and it feels like, no, there should be a place for discipline, there should be a place for beating. So where do we come to a common ground so we can, you know, decide that, okay, you know, beating should, not beating, correcting, caning, no, yeah, punishing, you know, should be a part. Okay, punishing should be a part. And I just find those words too harsh. That's just what I believe. Okay, punishing should be a part, but it should not be a first response, you get. That might be like a conclusion that you guys might come to, and it should not be something that is like a continuous thing. Like when a child does, you know, the way we were brought up now, the moment you do something, there's no place for trying to explain what happened or anything. The next thing is like, hey, you just know. You know, some of us, we got them to bring the kid, this is it, man. You know, because that's all you get. So you just need to know that, okay, if we are not able to agree, if we have different parenting style, or, you know, where do we meet? How do we come to a conclusion? How do we come to a common ground? So I always use my upbringing as you know, an example, that my dad and mom had different thought when it comes to bringing up a girl child, especially because my dad believes that the way you bring up a boy child is not the same way you bring up a girl child. For my dad, you don't beat a girl child, you don't touch a girl child. Like, you talk to the person, you can say whatever, but don't ever beat. My mother does not care. Like, girl child, boy child, hermaphrodite child, we beat everybody equally. Like, there's a size for everybody, you get. Yeah, so she knows that whenever my dad is around, we can misbehave. But the moment my dad leaves the house, everybody behave, because the lion of the tribe of our house is ruling, you get. So you know, they were able to balance it up. My mom knows that when we do something that offends her, when my dad is around, she does not touch us. She waits for my dad to leave. The moment my dad leaves, she closes the door and she handles us the way she wants to handle us, you get. So yeah, just making sure that you have like a common ground, a common understanding about, you know, how to raise your children. I think that's actually very, very important. Okay, so
one other important thing is what's the person's understanding of money? How do they handle money? How do they treat money? Do they understand the value behind money? And do they think money, I mean, the general understanding about money will let you know if this is someone you want to pitch your tent in, especially if you're financially literate, in quotes. Just the same way that when you're communicating, you have a preferred communication style. With money, people have preferred style of use for monetary use. So some people believe that you should save, some people believe you should hoard, some people believe, you know, there's no need for investment. Do you understand? In the course of discussion, find out whether the person is financially responsible. Do they pay their bills? Are they serial debtors? Do they believe in
serial debtors?
Yes, there are people who don't have any problem with borrowing and being in perpetual debt. You can't even shame them. You can't. They will tell you, hey, so what is it? How much did I even owe you? I mean, so you have to. If you're the type that avoids debt with everything, that you never want to owe anyone money.
Lord.
You may have to understand. You have a problem with someone who does not feel anything is bad in
borrowing,
in borrowing or being in debt. Now, for me, I think well, that's for me. I think there are certain instances where some behaviors are permissible, but that's me. Now, my wife may not see it that way. So the question is, in talking about stuff like that, we are able to identify if we won't be a liability to each other. So if I am a spendthrift and she's a saver, there is no way we won't have issues. So those kind of discussion may help me either to curtail my natural instincts to be a spendthrift and become, or maybe I'll even be giving her the money to save for me. You get? So it's important that we identify if the weakness, the person's financial
weakness and strength
is one that can complement yours, or is something that you can work, or is a deal breaker, it's something you can't just deal with.
So I think that's actually a very important point. You need to know like your financial weaknesses, your financial strength. Okay, like he said, like I mean, how can you and it really pisses me off, like when you borrow money, like if I say borrow me money, I mean borrow me money, I'm going to pay it back. But there are some people that borrow me money, and trust me, I have friends like that, that when they say borrow me money, I know in my heart of hearts that this money is never finding its way back to me. Okay, so if you ask me to borrow you 20,000 naira, and I know that I cannot let 20,000 naira go, I will give you 5,000 naira, because I know that you are not going to return that money, you get. So you need to know your partner's like thinking when it comes to money and what they like to spend money on. I think yesterday we're having this conversation, you know, with ourselves about, you know, there are certain things that, you know, sometimes growing up, you just have the ideology that there are certain things that you just don't want to lack, you get, you know, and there's certain things that I would rather spend my money on. Like, I might rather eat than to buy shoes. My husband might rather, you know, buy shoes than to eat, you get. So just have that, because sometimes
what kind of man's gotta look good.
Look good, you know. It's I don't understand, you know, because we're talking about like what will you use your last, of course, after you remove your savings and stuff from your expenses, like what would you use your last card for? And he knows me, like he knows me, whatever I feel like eating, like I don't like to feel like eating something and I know I have the money and I'm saying that, oh, I don't want to eat it. No, I will buy it. But I was like, that food is not his own. It's not his own department. When it comes to other things like accessories and stuff like that, he's going to use his last card to buy it. So we're just having a discussion yesterday about that, because you need to have the understanding. Because if you don't, there's a tendency for you to believe that this person is wasteful, or this person is, is doesn't have financial intelligence or something like that, or is not financially intelligent rather. So you want to really discuss about your financial strength and your financial weakness. That will really help you to know what you are getting into, in your marriage. Okay, so the next point I will discuss, taking us out of the financial whatever parenting part, you want to discuss your genotype. I think this is like the very first subject, especially if there is an S in your genotype. Like, you need to make sure that you discuss it. What's your genotype? What's my genotype? Because you don't want to end up giving birth to children that you like. Yeah, there's this statement that I love to repeat, when it comes, especially when I was still looking for my husband. When I was still looking for a life partner, okay? We're not looking for, before I got married, okay? Is that, when you're choosing your life partner, you're not just choosing a husband. You're not just choosing a wife. You're choosing a father for your children. You're choosing a mother for your children. You are choosing a life for your children, okay? So you want to make sure that whoever you're choosing is someone that you envision as a father to your kids. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So one thing that is very important, you don't want to give birth to children that will come and suffer because you are in love. See, love is not a reason for you to be stupid. Love does not the Bible says love covereth all things. Is it love covereth all things that the Bible says? Yes. But love does not cover genotype issue. I'm telling you the truth. If you know that you are AS, your partner is AS, or you are AS, your partner is SS, like, you are just setting yourself up for trouble. You are setting yourself up for, and it's not even just one trouble, a lifetime of trouble. You are bringing a kid, an innocent kid into this world just to suffer on something that you can actually make a decision on. Please, if you are AS, if you say, oh, God will heal you, let God heal you before you get into that marriage. Okay? If you have so much faith to go, oh, there's nothing God cannot do, let God change your genotype before you end up marrying somebody and then, giving birth to a child that will be facing crisis every now and then. Please make sure that you find out what your genotype is before you even go too deep to the extent that you cannot come back out, especially if you have an S in your genotype. I think that's very, very important.
Okay.
The way you open your mouth.
I agree with what she's saying. Basically, because like I said, we are but we're in a generation of knowledge and information. So we are better placed than our forebears who didn't have some information. I mean, we are not saying that anybody is condemned by virtue of whatever genotype they have, but we are saying that be deliberate about it.
So just make your research,
yes,
right?
Yeah, because most people don't even know certain things about themselves. People don't know their height, their weight, their PCV, their this one.
And we take those things for granted, especially in our part of the world.
Yes.
We don't consider it, and it's not nice.
Yeah,
it's not
so
good.
at least when you know you're gonna get serious with someone, there are certain things you should know about yourself.
Yeah, you should do your medical checkup. Know if you're HIV free. Like, just know those things. It's important for you, because that thing can be in your body for years and you don't even know. Some of you are, just take your health seriously. That's all. Make sure you go for a regular medical checkup. Check your inner, make sure everything is okay inside of you. Okay? All right, on to the next one.
I think another thing that is important is understanding your partner's belief system and thought pattern. I don't even think it's a question of being an unbeliever in quote alone. You could be with a Christian like you and your beliefs are radically different.
Yeah. So
those kind of things are things you should talk about. I mean, understand, then see if it aligns.
Yeah.
And if it does not align exactly, is this something that can be worked upon?
Or something you can overlook?
Yes. So if it is not something that can be worked upon and it's not something you can overlook, then you may know that at this juncture, I have to, call it quits or not proceed to the next level or whatever level is going to be. Okay. So I think that's also that's important.
Yeah, I think it's important. And just to give a scenario, maybe to provide clarity, I remember there was this, it says something about, so the two of you can be Christians, but your belief system can be totally different, okay? For instance, you might come from a denomination of religion, okay, that believes that blood transfusion is a no and stuff like that, and your partner does not believe in that. Like when there's a need, like there's a place for science, there's a place for faith, but you might believe that everything is about faith. I know a woman who when her kids are sick, the first thing they do is to pray and to take communion. That's the first thing they do before they even consider anything that has to do with drugs and stuff. Is that the kind of person that I am? And as a man, as a father to those children, is that something that you can tolerate? Or are you a person that believe that when headache is wrong with children, give them drugs, then you pray, you get? So just know what your standpoint is. Like this, I remember when I was in SS, when I had this friend, okay, who was SS, okay, and at the point of death, they wanted to do blood transfusion, and the mother was adamant, like literally, she said in her church they don't believe God is going to heal him, God is going to heal him. The boy eventually died. I can never forget. It's just, I'm talking, I can still picture him. I know his name so well. So you need to know those things. Like, even though we are Christian, you'll be amazed. Even though, I always, advise that you marry someone that you can hold hands together and pray. Someone that you believe in the same thing. Someone that, the two of you can build your home on a strong foundation, okay? But aside that, okay, you also need to make sure that even when we are in the same belief, our thinking, our ideology about our faith is actually, in a way aligned. We cannot believe the same thing. Me and my husband still have, discussions, and that turns into arguments and debates about, faith. It's still the same. We are both Christians, but there are certain things about faith that he sees this way, I see this way, and we have discussions about it. So I think that's something that you also want to discuss, like how extreme or what is always your, like I said, your first call of action. Is it faith? Is it logic? Is it stuff like that? And sometimes it's not actually watertight. Sometimes it might just, faith might not be my first response. It depends on the situation you get, but you want to.
I guess the whole idea is just to find out if there is some level of fanaticism in your partner. So if your partner is on the extreme spectrum of fanaticism, you will know that, okay, I can't deal with this one. Yeah,
and it can also be on the extreme of the other side, like it just does not believe in we should use faith for everything. Should be about science and stuff like that. So just discuss your faith generally, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. And the next point that I'll talk about is you need to discuss your communication style. Like, know how your partner likes to be communicated to, okay? I know we said this when we just started dating. My husband was and still is a very text-based person. I am a talkative, so I like to talk. That's how I like to communicate, okay? But my husband he loves to text, and that was like a very big issue for us when we just started dating. But thankfully, we were able to, to meet each other. So I think this morning, just this morning when we woke up, he told me that it would be nice for me, like, when was the last time I saw good morning, baby, on my phone? And I'm like, but I greeted you good morning today. He said yes, but he wants to read it, you get. So yeah, that's the kind of person he is. He's very text based, and I'm a person that if you send me good morning, like, if you have not called me, I have not heard your voice, to me we have not spoken. So you want to know what is their communication style, what do they like to talk, or how do they like to be communicated to, okay? Sometimes we tend to project our own communication style on our partner. So when you have important conversation to talk about, is he a person that we like to have a conference meeting, let's talk one-on-one, or is he a kind of person that let's hang out, or is he a person that there are certain topics that I want to discuss with my husband that I may not know how to bring it up to him, maybe especially depending on how sensitive the topic is. I might find an article because I know he likes to read a lot, and I send the article to him for him to read. After he reads, then we have a conversation, you get. So just know what is their communication style. So the last point from my end is you guys need to discuss your extended family involvement in your family, because you guys coming together means that it's the two of you. It's the two of you first before any other person. So you want to discover, like, what will be the role of our extended families? Do we take our issues to our extended families? When we have issues, am I permitted to tell my mom about it? Are you permitted to tell your mom about it? Just what is generally the involvement of our extended families in our marriage? That's something that you want to also discuss, because like, there are some boys or girls that they call mama's boys or mama's girls. You might have an aversion for that, but there might be someone who is so closely knitted with their own parents, especially if they're the only child. Like, I'm not saying that's the way it is for every only child. I'm just saying that generally, there's this close attachment people usually tend to have with their parents. So you want to know what is your so what's your relationship with your parent? Are you a person that any small thing that happens, you call on mommy, you call on daddy? Like, your parents can come and stay a year in our house and stuff, and it doesn't matter to you. So you want to make sure that you have all those conversations. So I think that's something important that you should discuss on, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, if I would add anything to that, I'd say it's important that you understand your family values so far as it regards family. Are you the type that identifies with your family, whether extended or nuclear? Is she the type to?
Yeah,
because that will help you understand how to position yourselves as a couple.
Yeah.
If you love family, it's important that your partner will either love family or be able to tolerate family, because if you do and she doesn't, there will be a problem.
Yeah, I totally accept that.
Your family values, what family means to you.
Yeah, you need to communicate that. I think that's so true, especially in our marriage, because my husband is the kind of person that the bond between him and his brothers, I don't get it. I love my sister, I love my brother, but their own is like a special bond from heaven. Like the way they interact and talk with each other, you hardly even know who is the eldest, who is the youngest. So imagine if I'm coming from a family where I never had a relationship with my siblings. It would be weird. Like I might feel a bit cheated that he's so close to his family and stuff like that. You get. So he had to communicate. He plainly told me that when we were dating, that like me and my brothers, he told me we are closely knitted and no one can come in between us and stuff. So he made me realize that I need to make sure that I get along with his brothers and stuff like that. So yeah, I know we definitely communicated that with each other, and I also did with my own family also to him. So yeah, so what will be your last point?
Okay, this one, depending on where you're coming from or your background or whatever, it may not be that easy for you to talk about. This part of the world, we don't face certain sensitive issues, but I think it's important, and almost every seasoned married counselor will tell you that you have to discuss matters of sexual relations, your expectations, your imaginations,
your fantasies,
what is permissible, what is not permissible.
Absolutely.
What are your limits? What are no-go areas for you? You have to talk about it. You may find a compromise along the way and all that, but it's important that you talk about all those things, because if you don't, when the problems attached thereto starts to come, it will be difficult to start talking about it, because you had the years to talk about them and you never said anything about it.
I think it's actually important that you even start having that conversation. I know, especially in Christian courtship and stuff like that, we are told to not discuss it until a few weeks to your marriage. Then you guys that's not too. So I'm sorry to say, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, like this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, especially if you are not experienced. The person is experienced. There's some things that, why should I wait until we are close to marriage before I start to know what are your fantasies, the things that you want to do to me? You get, like, what are the things that I know we discussed this thing like earlier in our like relationship, like, okay, what are the no-go areas when it comes to intimacy, even though we weren't planning on doing stuff like that, but you need to know those things. Like, you need to know the kind of person the partner is, and especially if you have no experience, I don't know, shall just look for a way to discuss, and it will actually help you, so that if you guys get to that place where you're comfortable discussing stuff like that, when you get into marriage and you're not meeting your expectation, or maybe there's something that is lacking and stuff, you won't be afraid to say it, because you've already established that free, conversation, rapport kind of thing, so that if anything is not meeting or being up to par after marriage, you guys can freely have that conversation, and not without anyone feeling like, oh, I don't want to say anything, oh, how do I bring it up, oh, this and that. No, please discuss. I'm not saying you should discuss the nitty-gritty, the things you should do to me. No, that's not what I'm saying, but just normal discussion, like, what are your perversion, what are the things you cannot accept, what are the stuff like that. And then when you now get closer, you can ask closer to your wedding and stuff, you can now start discussing your fantasies and all of those things.
Just the same way we'll say, try and understand the person's idea about family, try and understand the person's idea about money. It's the same way you should understand the person's idea about intimacy, because what it means to us may not be the same. And our expectation may not. So when you understand that person, at least when the person tells you what it means to them, you can know, okay, I mean, you can know if you're on course or you are not on course.
And if I'm just to add one more last point, is just that, you know, you need to discuss your deal breakers. Like, what are those things that you cannot compromise on? Like, you know, this if you do this to me, and I know we discussed that. Like, I know he asked me, like, what was that one thing I'll do to you that you will never forgive me? Maybe that's a topic for another day. I also want us to talk about, you know, things to disclose about your past to your husband or to be or your spouse, whatever. But that will be a video for another time. But yeah, you need to discuss. Why are you laughing? Your deal breaker, you know, your deal breakers could be like, you know, I never want, like I said, my deal breaker was if you are anything into armed forces, soldier and stuff like that, it's like a huge deal breaker for me. Okay, your deal breaker might be that, you know, we cannot live, you know, in the east, or we cannot live in the north. Like, I cannot live there, you get. So you just need to know what are those things that it is non-negotiable for you, you get. All right, so I guess this is where we're going to end the video. This, you don't even want to know the stress that has gone into this video. Like, literally, guys, you don't want to know how many times you've had to reshoot this video. Like, you don't even want to know. So I'm so thankful to you, babe. Thank you for your patience and for just, you know, staying with me through it all. And to you guys, thank you guys. Yeah, it's all for you guys. So make sure you like this video, you leave a comment below, you subscribe to this channel, and you share this video with your contact or your network. Okay, thank you guys once again. My name is Victoria Ayodele Fash, and this is
Wally Ayodele Fash,
and I'll see you guys in my next video. Until then, have a lovely week. Bye.
Goodbye.
Oh, and happy Easter, guys. Have a lovely celebration and a holiday, a great holiday. Okay, all right, bye guys.